You know why none of our problems really get solved? A lot of people, when I ask that, will have a litany of answers. They will tell you that it is because people vote a particular party. They will tell you that it's because of X reason. And a lot of our politics kind of becomes well, I actually talked about this in my book. Um, a lot of our politics is kind of like Waterboy. In Waterboy, every time Bobby Boucher's mother doesn't like something, she says, "Bobby Boucher, don't you be playing that foosball now. Foosball's the devil." And that's basically what our politics is. No matter what your political party is, no matter what your affiliations are, no matter how much you think you understand, it is just people demonizing things they don't like. Everything is the problem of somebody else. And nobody really cares to solve problems. I just saw a clip of a girl who I think she's under 25. She had to be like 23, 24, and she was crying because she went to college for a degree and got a job, and she said, I'm still miserable. I hate my job. It's not what I thought it would be. I can't afford anything. My degree's too expensive. I still struggle to pay for groceries. I can't afford to buy a house. I can barely even afford to buy myself clothes. And this life was not what I thought it was going to be. And, I related to that a pretty good bit. I feel like a lot of people related to that. But unfortunately, you can't just relate to it. You have to impart your own political opinions because we are surrounded by people who want to force political opinions on you. And yes, this is a political problem. But unfortunately, most of us who talk about politics are not qualified to talk about it. And so you end up with a lot of retarded ass fucking conversations that doesn't mean anything. You know, you have people saying vote Republican because somehow the Republican Party would just avoid all of that. They never explain why. They just say so. They blame it on Bidenomics. They blame it on Reaganomics. They blame it on. Some of them were basically saying like, "Hey, welcome to reality. This is reality for a lot of us." And it's like, yeah, but like that's the problem. Is like this is the standard way that most people live their lives. You know, we have become so accustomed to things being so expensive and so out of reach for us that people just can't really work their way out of their situations. You have to kind of get lucky and you have to kind of be in a situation to where you just kind of get money. Some people will tell you that you should start a business. Most businesses fail. Some people will tell you that you should get a college degree. Most college degrees are never used. And if they are used, they're used for jobs that do not pay enough money to actually pay for it, which is kind of ridiculous. Most people will tell you to not go to college and just work. Some people who I think the actual pretty good advice was to get a blue collar job, to get a trade job so you're always having work because a lot of people aren't really doing that. I kind of wish I did that because I feel like if I just did heating and air or electricity or some sort of skill that I could always have something that I can market to make money because now our skill jobs are kind of making the most amount of money because of the skill gap. But then again, that could have easily been predicted because it's not like people who were doing it a few years ago knew that that was going to be the case. It's just what they did. And there's a reason why there's still a skill gap. But you you guys gotta shut the fuck up about your politics, man. You really do. Like, I don't give a fuck what president you like and what president you don't like. Because until you actually start getting into the nitty gritty of the conversations, what you are doing is you are essentially playing football. And I'm sorry to tell you this, but if you treat our politics the same way that you treat your football teams or whatever sports team that you like to watch, or even MMA or whomever or whatever sport that you like. That's what causes our country to lose the most, is placating and appealing to this group mentality to the point to where you just turn your fucking brain off. There isn't, I shouldn't say there isn't a single person. There aren't many people who can point to a political opinion that they have and give me a reasonable, detailed explanation for why they've come to that conclusion. There are a fuckload of people who will tell me that so and so would solve all of their problems if they were in office, or we just have to do this and it would solve all of our problems. You know, even people who think that universal health care would solve all of our problems. You know, they kind of just say that without really fucking thinking about what that means. People don't understand that your expertise is only limited to your life. And if you spent your entire life just fucking working at a job and watching whatever media source you happen to watch, you know what that media source has exposed you to, and you only think of the parameters of what that media source wants you to think. If you watch Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, you have a very, very limited range on how you look at the world. And to be honest with you, especially you Fox News fans, a lot of the time, when these companies get called out for lying, they resort to calling themselves an entertainment industry, and that is why sometimes they say things that are wrong. If you actually understand how court documentation works and how court transcripts works and what people testify, and you read what people testify versus what they tell you, you find out really fucking quickly who's lying to you and who isn't. But that takes time and effort, and people don't really want to do that. People don't really want to pay attention to the fact that CNN got sued. People don't want to pay attention to the fact that Fox News got sued. People don't want to pay attention to the fact that many of these media sources get propped up because they have a big audience, and because they have a big audience, and because they're perceived to have a big audience, they continuously have a big audience. And people don't understand that it is okay to not know something. It's okay to not understand something. And God forbid, it's okay to be there for somebody when they're going through a fucking hard time. Yeah, in my job, I've seen a lot of people go through a very fucking hard time. And we are too fucking quick to judge, point fingers at, blame them for. You know, I've known people who have gone to jail, and people have literally looked at them and said, like, well, you know, if you don't like jail, then don't break the fucking law. And yeah, that's fucking true. But at the same time, like, is saying shit like that really fucking helping the conversation? Is saying shit like that doing anything other than showing how much of an asshole you are? Is saying that shit really doing anything other than showing the fact that you do not give enough of shit about this person to actually have a conversation with that person? And that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to approaching these topics, right? If I feel a need to impart my politics onto a conversation, especially if that conversation has nothing to do with politics, if I feel a need to show you how dismissive I am of your conundrum, then all that should show you. See, I think what I would think if somebody did that to me, right? If I was going through a hard time, if I'm complaining about my apartment complex I complain about my apartment being expensive because apartments are artificially more expensive because the market says so, right? Market forces drive prices, and because market forces drive prices, prices can go up without much justification, other than the fact that people are just willing to fucking spend the money on it. And that's the only fucking reason why they're expensive. That, and there's a shortage of them. You know, if I'm explaining that I'm pissed off about these things, and your go-to answer is, well, you know, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, it's like, no. Those people don't fucking care about my predicament enough, nor have they gone out of their way to do anything to actively, positively, or negatively impact it, at least directly. And even if it was indirect, I don't believe with how fast you came to that conclusion, that you actually made any sort of connections whatsoever between those politicians that you like or don't like and my current predicament. And the same goes true for other people. You know, if I'm talking about any sort of struggle I have with depression, and your go-to is, when I was a kid, people weren't really depressed. Well, one, fucking bullshit. People did kill themselves in your fucking day and age. You just fucking ignored it or didn't know about it because the media didn't really talk too much about it. And your parents were probably a lot more fucking depressed than they lead on, and you're probably a lot more fucking depressed than you lead on. You just don't know how to recognize it. And then two, like, again, what are you adding to the conversation? Why do you feel a need to make this conversation about you and your opinions? I have this camera and I have this microphone, so like I'm just speaking my opinions, right? And if you wanted to respond with your opinions, that's fine too. But when you dismiss somebody's conversation with your opinions and you don't even have the respect to listen and understand what that person is saying, you're not having a conversation. You're having a debate and you're trying to win that debate. Most of our conversations are pretty fucking retarded. I don't affiliate with anybody because of this. Because to affiliate with somebody in most circumstances means that you have to shut your brain off to some capacity because self-criticism is not allowed in these conversations. And until somebody's willing to come to me with your opinion or your ideas with a little bit of caveat, with a little bit of, hey, I might be wrong and I understand these things might suggest that I'm wrong, but I also think X because of Y, then I don't take your opinion seriously. And nor should you take anybody else's opinion seriously. If somebody comes up to you, this doesn't matter for whatever political opinion you have. If somebody wants to silence your opinion because they want to dismiss you as being racist, or they want to dismiss you as being woke or unwoke or fucking authoritative or communist or anything like that, like these are just fucking words that are being used to avoid conversations, right? And this is coming from somebody who has been called a Satanist. I've been called a police pig. I have been called a Trump supporter. I've been called a Biden supporter. I've kept my political opinions vague enough to where anybody who didn't like me would just associate me with things that they didn't like without fully understanding what I actually thought, because they didn't give a fuck what I thought. They just wanted to demonize me, and whatever demons they think they have, whatever the bad guy is in their head, I must be a part of that. And that's honestly how most discourse happens. That's how most conversations happen. And that's why nobody gets anywhere. Go back to your fucking echo chambers. Go on Google and look up I'mRight.com and find your bullshit statistics that have absolutely no sources and come from some sort of moneyed interest from some sort of lobby somewhere that tries to pay for a specific outcome, and show me that you have a lack of understanding of what you're even talking about by refusing to elaborate and call me names, and show me that you don't really have a care for other people by simply being completely dismissive of what they had to say. Because it takes a very different kind of person to even be able to talk to somebody you don't like. I have had conversations with people who I wanted to cuss out, who I actually thought were pieces of shit. Most people I don't really think are pieces of shit, but some people I've talked to who are actually pieces of shit. It's very fucking hard. It's very fucking hard to grit your teeth and to treat people who your brain is telling you this is not a human. You don't have to treat him as such. Fucking easiest example is somebody who's a child molester. It's very fucking hard to talk to a child molester who says they're suicidal and to not just say, the world would probably be better off if you don't fucking kill yourself. Because you can't do that. It's not, like, you get fired if you do that. And not to mention the fact, you have to, like, if you're in a jail, you have to remind yourself that person is pretrial. And even if it's not likely, it's possible that they're innocent or that there isn't enough evidence for it or somebody was lying about it. The rage that you have of the charge tends to overcome your rational thoughts, and you end up treating that person differently, and it's very hard to not do that. And so I think that's why I get so pissed off, because if I can look past a charge like that, I'm not going to invite you over and have you dinner and be your best friend or anything, but I'm not going to fucking, tell you to kill yourself. Unless if I know for a fact that you fucking did it, maybe. But even then, like, if I'm getting paid, I'm getting paid. I'm going to fucking ignore your charges and not give myself a reason not fucking like you. If I can look past those things, why can't you look past somebody else's politics? Why can't you look past somebody else's religion? Why can't you look past somebody else's circumstances? Why can't you look past somebody else's mistakes? Why can't you look past something that somebody else thinks that you just disagree with? And why do you feel a need to demonize it? You, who is chronically on the internet to a point to where you feel a need to argue with every single person that comes your way, where you feel a need to regurgitate opinions that probably aren't even yours. Are your own thoughts even your thoughts? Why do you think what you think? Does this question even occur in your fucking head? Has the thought ever crossed your mind? I don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't know specifically what this person has gone through, so I'm not really going to judge this person until I know enough about them to actually judge them. No. For most people, I don't fucking believe that thought has even crossed their minds. And to be honest, there's been plenty of times where I fucking judged somebody without fucking knowing them. Because it's human nature. And until you recognize that you have your fucking flaws as a person, and you need to work past them to be a better person, you're not going to be a better person. And you can act superior all you fucking want because you think you're right and everybody else is wrong. But somebody's going to know enough, and somebody's going to call you out for it, and you're going to have to make a decision. Am I going to double down and bury my head in the sand and get pissed off, or am I going to shut the fuck up and listen to what somebody else actually has to say? Most people bury their fucking heads in the sand, and they don't fucking learn anything. And I call those people idiots. Because to me, even if listening to somebody doesn't really give you new information or you still disagree with it, at least you made the fucking attempt to listen to that person. At least you understand why they think that. I don't think that cops are racist, but I understand why people think that. Because I listened to Black Lives Matter supporters, and I talked to enough people that didn't like me for the uniform that I wore to understand what they were saying and why they were saying it. I agree with some of what they say. I think a lot of times they try to label things as racist before they actually even know it. I think that if a lot of them were placed under similar circumstances, they would probably do the same fucking actions. But then again, I didn't live through their fucking shoes. I don't fucking see the world through their eyes. I don't fucking know. Right? That's just what I think. And maybe that slight acknowledgement that you can be wrong, and that need to be less narcissistic and to be able to say, hey, I was wrong or I might be wrong, is all we fucking need. Maybe that'll solve our fucking problems. Maybe going Republican, Democrat, smart, stupid, woke, unwoke, fucking pro-police, anti-police, and turning every fucking conversation into a yes-no is part of the problem. And maybe we need to look at our problems a little bit more carefully to actually be able to solve them. Maybe we limit our conversations so fucking much that we just continuously try different things to not solve problems, and we just make marginal changes that while people struggle. We're one of the wealthiest nations of the fucking planet, and yet we have veterans who can't have a home. Regardless of what you think about veterans, right? For how much respect we're supposed to give these people, a lot of them don't feel it. A lot of them do drugs to avoid the fact that reality for them really fucking sucks. And we spend a lot of fucking money on trying to give them care, but we've allowed it to become so efficient that it just doesn't fucking work half the fucking time. In the world's richest country, it shouldn't be the fucking case that most people can't afford a house. In the world's richest fucking country, it shouldn't be the case that our infrastructure is falling apart. And to be honest with you, any politics that you want to talk about, we're just going to be embarrassing ourselves. It's immature. We have better things to worry about, and we're not even interested in solving problems. So why talk about it? Why force it into conversations? Because you want to make a small victory in the landscape of defeat that we have. You know, even if you were right, what is convincing somebody on the internet going to do? Fucking fuck all. That's what it's going to do. It's just going to make you look more immature. It's going to make the other person more angry with you. And it's going to just prevent the conversation from actually being able to move forward. And I think that nobody that does that can actually do a job or handle any stressful situation that requires a little bit more nuance, that requires a little bit more active listening, that requires that communication and that very, very careful thought process to what you say. Many people haven't been in that situation. And so many people don't speak carefully. They speak carelessly. They force opinions. They input things. They don't have much thought as to what they say. They double, triple, quadruple down on things that they say without even having so much of a hint of what the other person hears when they say it. And there's just constant refusals of listening. I don't know. Perhaps I just have a higher standard of maturity than some people, or perhaps I don't feel like the veil of the internet gives me a reason to be a shittier person. Because I've been a shitty person a lot in my life. I've done and said shitty things to some people. I've gotten into a lot of arguments that I didn't want. I'd like to think that I learned from them and that I try to be a little bit more of a patient person. I try to be a little bit more of a happier person. And I try to contribute a little bit more to people's lives because of it. But, I slip up. But is being perfect the important thing, or is trying to fix your imperfections more important?